Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to call this special Quorum Court meeting to order. The purpose of this meeting is to work on items pertaining to the 2017 budget process. It's on. Okay. The prayer and the pledge is going to be taken care of by J.P. Daniel Balls.
Let's pray. Lord, thank you for this day. Thank you for the great country and the great time we live in. Give us the wisdom as we go about doing the work of our county and the budget process. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, J.P. Ball. The next thing we have is we're going to call the roll. Carly, would you call the roll, please?
Daniel Balls.
Here.
Harvey Bowman. Rick Cochran.
Here.
Robert Dennis.
Here.
Lisa Ecke.
Here.
Ann Harbison.
Here.
Sharon Lloyd.
Here.
Tom Lundstrom.
Here.
Eva Madison.
Here.
Sue Madison.
Here.
Joe Maxwell. Gary McHenry.
Here.
Joe Patterson.
Here.
Butch Pond.
Here.
Bill Ussery.
Quorum present. Okay, you have the agenda in front of you. Do I have a motion to adopt the agenda as a
moved.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. The next thing, we've slightly changed our agenda around. We are now accepting citizens' comments before we go into business. So what I'm going to do is recognize the public for citizens' comments. We're going to be allowed to have a total of 15 minutes. Each person will have a total of 3 minutes each if they have a comment to make. So if anyone would like to make a comment, please raise your hand and come forward. Yes, sir. Take the hot seat. Turn and give us your name, please.
Alan Humate.
Please have a seat, Alan.
I know the 4-H issue and the extension service is going to be discussed tonight, and I would just like to say that I hope that you can see to continue funding, and if there's a way to, because I understand that they're asking for some additional funding for a new 4-H agent, and 4-H is a wonderful organization. It's my kids have benefited from it. And I very much support that, and I hope you can see to do some additional funding if there's a way, and definitely don't want you to reduce funding any. Thank you.
Thank you, Alan, for your time. Anyone else want to make a comment? Come forward, David. Identify yourself. We know who you are, but do it anyway.
David Ruff, Prairie Grove. Last time I was up here, I brought up a conversation that was held over the radio, and I was wrong, and I come to apologize to this court. The things that was said on the radio was not made by somebody on this court. It was made by somebody that's running for a position on this court. So I come to set the record straight. It was not made by somebody on this court. It was made by somebody that is running for a position on this court, and I sincerely apologize. And I hope that you accept my apology. Thank you.
Thank you, David.
Could I say something?
Yes.
I want to thank Mr. Ruff for coming and apologizing, but a lot of people that were in the audience that night were aware of the fact that he was talking about me, because I had been on Quorum radio that day or two before that. And I appreciate the fact that he was listening and paying attention to what was going on. He just applied it to the wrong man. But I want to make sure the employees know that it was not me that said they were lazy and worthless. I don't believe that, so why would I say it? But I do appreciate his standing up and apologizing and taking care of his error. So I went home and listened to the whole thing again. I knew I didn't say that, but I want to just be sure sometimes things can be taken out of context. And that was the way it turned out. But I do appreciate it a lot, Dave.
And I went back and I re-listened to the program myself, and I don't know where it went wrong, if I was getting out of the vehicle and going into the house, what had happened. I went back and listened to the conversation again. I was wrong. It was not Mr. Lunsford, it was somebody else.
Yeah, and he did call me personally and apologize as well, so I really appreciate that. The apology is accepted, and I just want to make sure the employees know that it was not me. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Anyone else, excuse me, anyone else have a comment? Please identify yourself.
My name's Cassie Davis, and I'm from Prairie Grove, and I've also come to appeal to you on behalf of the 4-H. I realize that our county is growing, and it's not as rural as it once was, but that doesn't mean that we shouldn't support the rural programs. An investment in our county is being made through the 4-H program into these kids that are growing up to learn responsibilities. They're going to grow up and be productive adults. And unless we invest in them now, we will not see that productivity here. The state may be failing us on their funding, but we don't need to fail them as a county because we're going to receive the benefits. We're going to reap the benefits of what these programs teach them in our county if we are sure to make sure that they get to grow up learning the responsibilities and the public service that 4-H teaches to these kids.
Thank you, Cassie. Yes, ma'am.
Christy Weaver. I've also come, Alta Green, on behalf of the Washington County and Cooperative Extension Service and the County 4-H. I'm the club leader for Hogeye 4-H Club. We're the largest club in the county. We have about 70 kids in our club. I just want to explain, we've been approached and asked by a couple of the Quorum Court members. My husband and my son and I, we've come to just about almost every Quorum Court meeting over the last 12, 14 months. And several have asked us, why have you guys started coming all of a sudden, and why have you been to so many meetings? You know, nobody does that. And no, it's not just for a fun hobby to come sit in on the meetings, but we are truly concerned about the extension service. And, you know, the old saying, ignorance is bliss. Ignorance is not bliss. When you don't know what's going on in the county, when you don't know what the budget is, when you don't know what funds are available, then you don't know what's going on in your county, basically. And we need to be aware of the funding situation. I know right now that the reserves are low, and I understand why some of the decisions have been made. But my plea to the Quorum Court, I know that the millage increase is up for discussion on the agenda tonight, and I don't know whether it will be voted on, but I know it's up for discussion. And my heart's plea is to please consider increasing that millage to increase the revenue, because over and over again that we've been here for the last year listening to these meetings, the thing that I've heard repetitively is we do not have the funds. And I understand that the state did not fund everything they were supposed to last year, and they were talking about how the buck got passed down to the county. Well, the buck has to stop somewhere. And these kids that are in this 4-H program are county residents, county kids. This is the county program, and we really need the support of our county Quorum Court. We appreciate everything that you guys do. We know that you're doing the best you can with the funds that you've had available, but we just please, plea with you to consider the millage increase to increase the revenue so we can support not only the county extension office and the county 4-H, but other programs throughout the county.
Thank you very much. Anyone else? We certainly do appreciate y'all. I'm sorry. Oh, come forward, ma'am, and identify yourself. I didn't mean to overlook you.
Well, not really. I was hesitant. I'm Dorothy Carney, and live in the West Fork area, between the West Fork and Devil's Den, a rural family. And I've used the extension service since 1971. First as a little greenhorn coming to the farm and not knowing anything about farming or animals or anything. I just feel like it's so important. My children were 4-H members. I was a leader for a short period of time. And I want to speak for Master Gardeners as well, because that's a really important part of the extension service that I'm taking part in now as an older person. But we do an awful lot of good, and we're beautifying the city and supporting the Botanical Gardens of the Ozarks, which is a big draw to this area. I work there once a week as a volunteer. And I can't tell you how many people come here to see the gardens. And if that wasn't for the free labor and this big support that they get from Master Gardeners, that would have a very hard time, the Botanical Gardens. I don't know, you've probably know some of the projects that they do, and helping with the farm days for the kids, at third graders that coming through schools, working for the county fair, and of course with the 4-H clubs. So anyway, I certainly hope that you can consider that. It's a very important part of children's lives, whether they're rural or not. They have all kinds of activities now. They're not just for rural kids. So anyway, we appreciate your consideration. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Did I miss anyone else? Yes, ma'am. Come forward, please. Identify yourself.
Louise Powers, and I'm here to support the Extension Office and hope that you will give good consideration to their budget and keep it a viable organization.
Thank you, ma'am. Come right on. Have a seat. Can you identify yourself?
Hello, I'm Gloria McIntosh, and I live here in Fayetteville. I used to live in Greenland for years and years, but I was a 4-H member when I was a little girl, and I went on to study horticulture at the university, and now I'm a 15-year life member of Master Gardeners. And I just wanted everybody to know one of the programs we have with Master Gardeners, it's so important, is it's a program that we started 2 years ago, and I'm the chairman of it. And it's a soil detective program that we take into all the Washington County second grade classes, and we teach them all about soil. And it's been a very successful program, and we even won the State Master Gardener Award for Excellence in Education. So I just wanted to let you know how important, and I'm sure most of you know, how important the Extension Office is, and the 4-H program, the Master Gardeners, and to this part of Northwest Arkansas. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Is our 15 minutes
No,
up?
ma'am. We have 6 minutes left.
Who else? Thank you, folks, very, very much. Did you want to be recognized?
Yes.
You like to miss
I'm sorry,
it.
I'm slow getting in. Sorry, it's been a long day. I'm Candace Wilson, and I'm the president of the Washington County Extension Homemakers Club. And I grew up in 4-H. My mother was a 4-H'er. My nephews, and we've got 4 generations of 4-H'ers. The leadership that our family has, I attribute very much to our upbringing in 4-H. And speaking in public, here I am just walking, but being able to speak in public and do things, I assist teaching 4-H'ers today with sewing or with anything, any skills that they need. I'm able to do that. But through 4-H, I had scholarships for college. I've been in leadership. I've taught, I've been in areas where I did teach my home ec skills. My degree is home economics, which attributed to all the sewing and things that I did in 4-H. So I think we very much need agents. I know that Washington County has always been very competitive at state level, and that's where the kids get the scholarships through their record books. And so I think that it's very important that you have an agent that will support you. Carolyn Scarmuza helped me so much to get my scholarships and all. So if it wasn't for the agent, Joanne Hayes supported, so I go way back. But 4-H was very important to me and my family. My kids also went to school on 4-H scholarships. So anyway, thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Yes, come forward. Identify yourself, please.
Yes. Good evening. I'm Mary McCulley, and I'm from Springdale. And mine will be quick. I want you to know that I'm a professional woman who retired after many years of service in Springdale and decided to take the Master Gardener program. And so I'm relatively new in that. But the work that we are doing in the Springdale schools is just awesome. Some of you have heard of the EAST program. We have young children that went out with us on the Springdale Razorback Greenway and mapped that out for us so that we can now plant this month 980 milkweed plants. And I want to say that this would not be possible, what we're doing, without the support we have of our local extension office. And being a professional person and having been in leadership and having been in management, I can say they do an excellent job, and I hope that the funding stays there because we need them. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am. Ann?
In case someone doesn't know, the milkweeds are for the monarch butterflies.
Anyone else? Thank you, folks, very much. We will move forward, and I do appreciate your time in speaking and also coming and being a part of this meeting. So, again, thank you very much. We're going to go right on into our budget requests. The first person that I'll recognize will be the county clerk. Yes.
When I looked at Ms. Llewellyn's budget, I felt badly that we actually made her come because she missed the cutoff by $450. And I know we sort of went back and forth between 2 and 3, so let's not be too hard on her.
The reason that I'm asking for an increase is for postage. Every odd year, we have to do a address confirmation mailing, and in 2013, I spent $17,000 for my mailings. 2015, it went to $22,000. I'm asking for 18 because I think that a strong voter turnout in November will kick a lot of people off the list. So, any questions?
Yes, J.P. Madison.
I would move to pass this budget on.
Second. I have a motion and a second. Any discussion for, yes, J.P. Osiri.
I'd just like to thank you for spelling this out very clearly in your note. That's very, very helpful, and I really appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? J.P. Cochran.
The increase in your general supplies goes hand in hand with your postage?
I didn't ask for an increase in my general supplies.
Well, I look at the amount that we're actually spending over the last few years, so even though it is $10,000 approved year to year, you're only spending about $7,500 in 2014, 2015, $6,300. Do you think that you need the full $10,000?
I would hate to not have it available.
Okay.
Because I have the automation fund, yes, but I try to keep that strictly to, computer IT,
Right.
Things like that. I mean, is it possible that I can decrease it? It could be, but I mean, I'd hate to not have it and need it.
Okay. Well, down the road, we might have to come back, but, if we need a little bit here and a little bit there. Thank you.
Any other discussion? Do we want to do a roll call, or can we just do a show of hands? Let's say all in favor of Becky's budget passing, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Thank you, Becky.
Thank you.
The next one thing we have is our county health. Robin Thomas. You recognize Robin.
Thank you. I'd like to first start off by thanking the court and the county for the budget that you've given us and for the help that you've given us over the years. Our health unit was recently recognized as one of the top 5 health units in the Northwest region, and part of that is due to the fact of the appearance of our building and how clean it's kept and how well the maintenance and the grounds are done. So I'd like to publicly thank you guys and thank Ron Wood and his staff for all that they do. And so We asked for an increase this year. It's mainly for an educational system to be placed in the waiting rooms for our clients so that they can learn more about their health while they're waiting to be seen in our clinics.
J.P. Lundstrom?
Is that what this $4,100 cable is?
It is, sir.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
J.P. Cochran?
Will that be a one-time expense, or will part of that go on year after year?
It's a monthly expense, yes, sir.
So it is a pay-per-view, if you will.
I'm sorry.
Kind of pay-per-view. As long as you keep it going, you'll have that.
Exactly. It's like a regular cable TV station,
Okay.
except it's only health. So instead of having ESPN in the waiting room or some of the news stations in the waiting room, it's an all health access channel, and we can select what's shown. So for instance, in child health, we could have appropriate material for child health. In women's health and in our CD wing, we would have appropriate stations for them.
Okay. Interesting. Thank you.
J.P. Aki?
Thank you. May I ask you why it went under cable and not education?
I asked for what coding it should go under, and that was the code I was given. It probably could go under education, but that's how it came to be under, cabling. So
I would prefer it to be under education and not cabling.
Okay. And I'm sure we can change that.
Yeah, it really bothers me that it would be cable, because right now I'm not happy about cable.
Oh, I understand that too. And I would never have asked you guys to pay for regular cable. I don't think that would be worthwhile for the patient.
Could you would you please refresh my memory? You said the $4,100 is the annual fee, and this is going to be an ongoing?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, who is exactly providing?
It's called, let me look at my notes. It's called Everwell. So it's a cabling company that just targets healthcare providers. So it's a cable station for your waiting rooms.
Have you researched other companies who provide the same service?
I have. Other companies, our problem with other companies is they show advertisement for pharmaceuticals, and because we receive grant money from Title X and other national institutions, we cannot advertise pharmaceuticals. So we can't promote one pharmaceutical company over another, and that's how a lot of those cabling companies fund their programs.
But is there another company who provides this kind of educational information without?
No, not that we were able to
advertising.
find. Yeah, not that we were able to find.
Because learning from our wonderful tax assessor who renegotiates contracts and saves this county about $500,000, he says you should always get 3 bids.
Right. This is the only company we were able to find when we did our research. We found other companies, but like I said, they primarily advertise pharmaceutical companies.
What was the difference in price, just out of curiosity?
The other ones, I want to believe the other ones were cut in half. The cost was cut in half, but that's because they're funded by pharmaceutical companies.
And was there any negotiation that could be made with this particular company?
Actually, we got a government rate. So it would have been more had we not gotten a government rate from them.
Okay. And are there additional grants available for something like this, for education?
For education.
That could be applied?
Not that I have found. I'm always looking. Just so you know, I'm always looking, but I have not found any.
Okay. Someone was pointing over at our wonderful controller saying,
I'm going to recognize her.
Thank
but what
you.
I'd like to do before we move on,
Thank you, Madam Judge.
I'd like to get a chair pulled up here to the center, because Ashley, I have. Well, I know, but let's just get, if you don't mind, Ashley, let's get a chair. Let's get you up here, because I think there's going to be other questions that you're going to have to answer.
I thank you, Madam Judge.
Thank you.
Okay, I just wanted to kind of make note that even though this is educational, it's still a cabling service, which is why we would code it as cabling per our line items. And that's what we're actually paying as a cable service, even though it is educational. Sorry.
I hear you loud and clear. I really do. But is there any way we can get that changed?
I mean, this is how it works. Whatever the invoice says is how we need to code it. The
And the
invoice is going
invoice
to say
says-
cabling because it is a cable service. That's their service that they're giving us, even though it's educational and it makes sense for education. It still has to be coded per our line items.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
No, I understand. It's just I don't like cable. Anyway.
I understand.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
J.P. Dennis.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. How many people will view this?
So our patient load per year, we see over 10,000 patients per year. And the other plus side to this particular company is they will allow us, it's done online. We can go in and select the programs that are shown in the waiting room. So we can go through and pick through over 700 different videos that have been taped. But we can also add our own. So for instance, with a recent mumps outbreak, our local physicians in Little Rock have taped little snippets. Those can be added to the waiting room viewing list so that can play and the patients can see something that's current. It also has a ticker tape system that runs across the bottom. So for instance, our upcoming flu clinics, we can advertise, get your flu shot. Our flu clinics, will start this date. Or we can advertise holidays are coming up. We will not be open on these days. So that's another nice little aspect of this particular system.
Is it multi-language?
Yes, sir, it is. And we also have the ability to tape our own messages, and we have been working with different physicians locally who speak Marshallese, speak Spanish, and so we could tape all of those messages in different languages.
Thank you.
J.P. Harbison.
I move that we approve the Washington County health budget, the increase of the $4,100 for the video education material, even though it's a cable, because I think this is very beneficial to the residents of Washington County. Thank you.
I have a motion. Do I have a second? Second. I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? J.P. Cochran?
What amount of time does a kind of an average patient spend in the waiting area? About how much time would they have to view the program?
It depends on what service they're there for and how much time it takes to get them registered in the different systems they're there, but on average between 20 to 30 minutes.
Okay. How long are these little programs that they have? Are they approximately the same?
They're about 5 to 15 minutes depending on the topic.
Okay, so a person in the waiting room might see 1 to maybe 5 different programs depending on what you have playing and how long they stay in there.
That's true.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Okay. J.P.
I'm sorry. I do support what you're doing, and public health is very important, but I'm just, do we not have CDs that or DVDs, I'm sorry, not CDs, but DVDs that could do the same thing for a lot less than having to do $4,100 for cable?
I understand what you're asking. The problem with that is you have to change them. A lot of the TVs are hanging on the walls now, so getting up and changing out the CDs can be problematic. You could put something on a continuous loop, but then you're playing the same message over and over and over again. The nice thing about this is it can have several topics going on all day long so that they could see 4 or 5 different messages depending on what's current at the time.
Sure, but if we had a DVD that covered 3 to 4 topics, whether it was the mumps, the measles, and the chicken pox, all on one DVD, and it ran, it would be saving the county a lot of money if you just had somebody who would then, after the end of 30, 35 minutes, would get up and put in another one. I'm just thinking, along those lines.
I understand.
$4,100, and this is going to be an ongoing expense when it's information, and I know education is important, but so are people. So I'm looking at more focusing on investing in that kind of resource as opposed to a cable network or a cable program. So you're going to have to sell me a lot better than this, or show me that you've done other options and this is what this is. You see what I'm saying?
I understand what you're saying.
Thank you.
Of course, the problem with DVDs is the cost of the DVDs, the availability of the DVDs, having the format of the DVDs for the particular audience you're showing it to is sometimes an issue, whereas this has already been produced, it's already been put together, the work's been done. And so we can, and they add to it constantly, so it changes constantly. We can go in at any given point in time and make an appropriate list depending on what's current. Whereas a DVD, you have to wait for it to be produced. You also have to find it in that format where you can combine several things together.
Well, I'm saying there might be something available already with public health, on the federal and state level, things that are already being produced. That's what I'm coming from.
Yeah.
So if that was one of your comparisons to this company when you get 3 bids, okay, this is how much they have on the federal and state level of DVDs that we can buy. I mean, I know that they can do that with the health sanitation serve safe in the food industry. You just call the federal government or you order them online and you have several DVDs to show in multiple languages. So that's why I'm asking about, did you do 3 bids and what would the cost comparison be?
Yeah.
Okay.
And just so you know, multiple languages, a lot of times you do have Spanish and English available. However, we have a large population of
Yes, I know.
Marshallese, which we do our own translating.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not available in Marshallese. We are doing the translating into Marshallese. So anything out there.
So this cable company will translate it for you into Marshallese?
This cable company will allow us to tape our own video that we can upload and play. So, for instance, Dr. Ricklin has, and on our Facebook page, if you go to the Washington County Facebook page, you can see different videos the physicians have taped lately. For example, Dr. Ricklin with UAMS did a whole series on mumps for us that we were able to tape and put out there to show.
Well, that's what I'm talking about. You already have that tape.
We have that one.
Just put that one in.
Yeah, well, and I see where you're going. I'm just saying this.
Well, could you, I can't support this at this time, but if you could come back and show us the cost comparisons between what you did, you might even be surprised to say, you know what, you're right.
Yeah.
And save the county a lot of money. So, thank you.
J.P. Lloyd.
Hi there.
Hi.
Thank you, Madam Judge. Is the $500 additional under the IT computer, is that because of the $4,100? I mean, you're going to have to do something.
No, ma'am.
Is that something
it
totally?
was an expense that we had this year that we had not put a line item in the budget for last year, and it was basically replacing different cords throughout the building,
Oh,
so
okay.
different HDMI cords or.
So it has nothing to do with this cable?
No, and
Okay.
we may or may not need it, but we've got it in there. So if we need it, it's there. If it's not needed, we turn it back over at the end of the year to you.
Are you thinking then you're thinking you needed cords replaced? And
Yes, ma'am. That's why it's in there.
I mean, and so how old are your cords? And
Oh, some of them are 10 years old. So we started replacing them this year. Yeah.
okay, all right, thank you.
J.P. Lundstrom.
I'm going to be very brief. I would just rather see this $4,100 left in the budget for somebody that actually needs it to run their department, as opposed to just furnishing a extra benefit to somebody coming in the health department. We spent about $50,000 over there recently on telephones. So that's kind of where I stand on this issue. I don't see it as something that's necessary. It's nice, but it's not necessary. Thank you, Madam Chair.
J.P. McHenry.
Thank you, Madam Judge. I'm curious about how many televisions you have and how many waiting areas.
We have 3 waiting areas. So one of our waiting areas has 2 separate areas, and that's our child health waiting room. We have an immunization waiting room and a WIC waiting room. So they're kind of split in the middle right now with a clerical area in between them. And then we have a women's health waiting area and a CD waiting area.
Are any of the televisions viewable from multiple waiting areas?
No, sir.
No.
Not at the moment, no, sir.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Judge.
Our attorney needs to make a comment.
Judge, I can do that when the JPs are finished.
Okay. J.P. Cochran.
Thank you, Judge. I too feel like that this might need a little bit more look into to see if there's a more economical way to do it. And I'm going to make a motion to strike the $4,100 from your budget, but please do look and see what you can do. And the reason that
We have a motion and a second on the floor.
and I'm making an amendment. I'm
Okay,
making a
you
motion
make an amendment?
to amend to strike the $4,100 on line 3024.
Will you accept the friendly amendment? No. Okay.
And the reason I say that is because if you did have a playback that was a continuous loop for about 35 minutes, something like that, that would cover everybody in the waiting room. Now, the people that work there are going to hear the same thing over and over and over and over. Okay, but the folks that are in there a short enough period of time that you should be able to find a few media sources to cover that. And since you are having to develop the Marshallese program yourself, we might as well go that way. So that's not that it's not a good idea, but this is a very, very tight budget year, and we're going to certainly be focusing on the needs.
Okay, now, hang on just a minute. We have a motion. We have a second on the floor.
Yes.
There's a motion to amend. I did not hear a second.
We have a motion to amend.
She didn't accept the amendment.
She didn't accept it.
No, but he can move to amend as a hostile amendment if he gets a second.
Just a second.
And J.P. Pond just seconded it.
Along with the $500.
So now what's on the floor is J.P. Cochran's amendment
Just the
to strike the $4,100.
$500 to go with
Yeah.
it.
I'm through, Judge. Thank you.
Okay, now, J.B. Madison.
Thank you. I'd like to speak against the amendment because this is a very vulnerable population in our county that there are not many opportunities to get to them at all. These are people that don't have good transportation. Their only interaction with the public sometimes may be at the health department. The ability to communicate with those folks about health issues that are current is very, very important to the health of our county. If you start looking at statistics about Washington County and health issues and the number of people living in poverty, this is the population that we need to be reaching out to. And let me tell you, when you put in a DVD that's 10 years old to young kids, they laugh at the hairstyles and the clothing and the topics, and you're not getting through to them. So the ability to have something this inexpensive that stays current, that goes out in the languages we need it to go out in. And let me also remind the court that had this just been a little bit less, they wouldn't even be here tonight, because we gave every department a pass for an increase of just $2,000. So had this been just half the cost, you wouldn't be here getting this kind of treatment tonight. And so I just want you all to think about the pass that we gave every budget for $2,000 for an expense that's double that amount for the kind of outreach and the kind of, I think, very positive payback we can get from a minimal experience. I think this is a minimal expense. I think this is a very worthy cause and very small in the grand scheme of things.
I have J.P. Madison, J.P. Harbison, J.P. Dennis, and I guess J.P. Lloyd. J.P. Madison.
Thank you, Madam Judge. I've sat in too many waiting rooms where I had to endure Oprah or Dr. Oz, and I can tell you this is a welcome improvement. I wish the car dealers would play something educational in their waiting rooms. J.B. Eva Madison is so correct. Some of the people coming to the health department have traveled through 2 changes of buses, carried car seats with them on the buses. They don't have cable at home. They may have a snowy TV that plays old DVDs. But for them to have the opportunity to learn the benefits of a flu shot, to know why it's important to get a mumps vaccine, to understand how WIC works and how you redeem those WIC coupons at Walmart, which I have helped people do, it's daunting. You have to have exactly the right kind of wrapped cheese squares for it to qualify for WIC. It can be very frustrating. I should have probably sat through some of those videos before I tried to take somebody to Walmart with their WIC coupons. So improving the health of the citizens of Washington County is something we should all be proud of doing. And here our health department has taken a leadership role in helping a vulnerable population, and we're largely talking about women and young children. This is hugely important. I don't think hugely is a word, but at any rate, please let's have this expense for the children and their parents that don't get many opportunities to learn from credible sources. They may be learning from somebody else on the bus. Let's let them learn from people at the health department. Thank you.
J.P. Harbison.
Everything the Madisons have said, I agree with, 100%, which is not normal. But let's look at this from another angle, because if we look at it from another angle, then we have to have personnel that's going to be putting these together, which is going to take time and it's going to cost money. So over a year's time, it's probably in labor costs and in their salaries and everything, when they could be doing something else besides looking for videos and those kinds of things. Probably it's going to be more than the $4,100. So, I think this is cost efficient when you consider the amount of time it takes to keep track and provide things for over 10,000 people a year. So, when you take that and you're influencing and helping 10,000 people a year, $4,100 is not very much money. Thank you.
J.P. Dennis.
Thank you, Madam Judge. Undoubtedly, you've done some research. Are there some success stories of others who have done this that you can share with us?
I don't have those with me, but I'd be happy to share those with you. I'd be happy to pull
But
those
as you
up.
looked into it,
Yes, sir.
Some other department, other healthcare,
Yes, sir.
who was it that,
Yes, sir.
what type places were successful with it?
There were other provider offices. So, for instance, maternity clinics, pediatricians, some of those groups were able to put out current issues. So, like, for instance, this time of year, if you're in a pediatric clinic, you have issues with colds and flus and stomach bugs. And so they would show little videos about how to keep your home clean, things like keeping your
some
tooth.
private care places.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right. The other thing that I will say is this: I wish that everybody spoke English. I wish that we had immigration rules that worked, but we don't, and they're here, and they need to know the things that we know about whooping cough and about mumps and about measles, and we put our own families and our own citizens at risk when we don't teach them how to take care of themselves. So, it actually puts us at risk when they are not getting the immunizations, when they're not doing the things that need to be done in order to keep those diseases out of our country. And so they can learn by being in their language. I would prefer that they spoke English, but they don't. And so it's 41 cents per person that comes through that we would be spending if there's 10,000 people coming through and $5,000 or $4,000. I did the math a while ago. It's 41 cents per person. So that's less than a postage stamp, on which you would hopefully be able to teach some people that, the rest of us don't want measles and mumps and whooping cough and everything. I can remember one doctor that I went to that is a very credible doctor, and she said, Mr. Dennis, you might have whooping cough because they're bringing it in. And I thought, wow, I never had thought of that. And she did, and she's the person who would go out and minister to those people and take money and spend it for them. But at the same time, she knew that it was coming in, and that's the way it was coming in. So I think if we can teach a group of people to take care of themselves better for 41 cents each, it would be advantageous to the county. So I'll be for it. Thank you.
J.P. Lloyd.
Thank you, Madam Judge. I just wanted to speak to the education part. As an employee of Springdale Public Schools, we educate our people all the time, and I know Cox Communication, we give them free internet and free cable services if they have free and reduced lunch. So the argument that they're not getting this education is not entirely true, because Springdale Schools, and we have the Marshallese population, Springdale Schools does,
Yes.
and we offer free clinics all the time. You listen to the messages every morning from the principal, and there's a free clinic on this and a free clinic on that, and you bring your parents to this and bring your parents to that. And I'm not saying this isn't valid, but I have to agree with J.P. Ecke that $4,100 is a lot of money. But to say that we're not educating our Marshallese and our Latino population is not true, especially in Springdale, because we do educate them. Quite extensive, and like I said, Cox Communication will give them free internet and free cable if they have free and reduced lunch. And the school where I teach, it's 100% free and reduced lunch, so everybody there is able to get Cox Communications. I just don't want to double dip when we're trying to save money for other things in the county. And so it's not a heartless vote. I want you to know that it's not a heartless vote, but I do know that we are educating a lot of our. And we offer them all kinds of things in the school district. And it's appreciated. I know it is. Thank you.
J.P. Ecke?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. One last comment. I do support all the work you do, and I do support our citizens. But I also know that in Springdale, we have Cargill and George's and Tyson's that educate the parents on issues like this, on the mumps and the measles and the flu, and encourage them and they let them come into the break room, and they put on the seminars for them on how to take care of their families. So there is education and there is awareness. To say we're heartless and not doing it, to me, was a bit of an exaggeration, because we are, and we are a community that is taking care of ourselves. I do feel that at this time, I can't support this because it's already being ministered to in Springdale and in other areas. So, thank you.
J.P. McHenry.
Thank you, Madam Judge. Another question. Do you have brochures that support the information that might be presented on these monitors? So how often do you change that out? Do you change it out during the various seasons of mumps or flu or whatever?
We do. So our nursing staff, as patients go through the clinic, depending upon what's going on at the time, they offer the clients the brochures that apply to them.
Mm-hmm.
However, what we do find is a lot of those brochures, even though you hand it to them, and you know where I'm going with this, they're in our parking lot.
Right.
So they don't always take them home, and they don't always read them. They are in multiple languages.
I was going to ask that
yes,
next. Thank you.
we do offer them in multiple languages. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot to be said about sitting in a waiting room and hearing something played over and over again. Even if you may not think you're paying attention to it, later on in the day, you will recall it. Mm-hmm. You will remember what you've heard, whereas a piece of paper just doesn't always make it home with you to be read. So.
And are they fun brochures? Are they
yes, sir.
drawn as cartoons sometimes?
They are.
When I was a very young child, I loved reading those types of things in waiting areas, and
yes,
I didn't throw them down. I enjoyed them. So,
yes, sir.
I think having something in your hand is going to be important. 5-10 minutes watching something on a television, we've sort of become a culture of ignoring things. But I think it would be important, especially in health information, to have something in your hand to study again as you leave. Where I work, we get a number of brochures from the National Institute of Health, and we have something called Age Pages, and we have a whole rack of brochures. And I noticed of course, it's an older audience, but I noticed that there's a lot of interest in the various topics that are listed there. So if it's presented in a fun way and it's available, then it's something they can walk away with. So that would be something I'd be more a proponent of. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Judge.
J.P. Lundstrom.
Madam Chair, I'm going to call the question.
Second. Okay, now,
Not debatable. It takes 2/3 to cut off debate.
now are we voting on the original motion?
No, you're voting now to cut debate off.
Okay, we're voting now to cut the call of the roll. Carly, please.
Robert Dennis. Lisa Ecke. Ann Harbison. Sharon Lloyd.
Yes.
Tom Lundstrom.
Yes.
Eva Madison.
Yes.
Sue Madison. Joe Maxwell. Gary McHenry. Joe Patterson. Butch Pond. Bill Ussery. Daniel Balls. Harvey Bowman. Rick Cochran.
The motion to cut off debate passed, Judge. I would like to, before you proceed to vote, just remind JPs, these are all motions to pass on the proposed budgets to the full quorum court. You're obviously not voting on the ordinance tonight, which means this. There are 13 of you sitting around the horseshoe. Any of these motions will take a 7-vote majority tonight to pass.
J.P. Harbison. Wait a minute. We've cut off debate. Okay, so
You're voting on J.P. Cochran's motion to amendment to remove the $4,100 increase, and I'm not stating it exactly, but paraphrasing J.P. Cochran's motion amendment.
did you do the second on that, J.B. Pond? Okay. So are we ready for a vote on this?
Yes, ma'am.
Carly, would you call the roll, please?
Robert Dennis.
No.
Lisa Ecke.
Yes.
Ann Harbison.
No.
Sharon Lloyd.
Yes.
Tom Lundstrom.
Yes.
Eva Madison.
No.
Sue Madison.
No.
Joe Maxwell. Gary McHenry. Joe Patterson. Butch Pond. Bill Ussery. Daniel Balls. Harvey Bowman. Rick Cochran.
I have 8 to 5. The amendment passed, and that would move you on to you haven't decided the budget yet.
So now the amendment was
Strike
the 4,100. Okay, but now we need to go ahead and go back and
So
pass.
I move that we pass our budget.
Okay, I have a motion to pass the budget. I have a
I
no.
thought that was already ready.
She made the amendment to pass it.
And the motion.
He just made a motion to strike the $4,100 as a line item. Y'all did not vote at my.
We had a motion. You're
And a
correct.
second, and Rick amended it, and we just amended the original motion, so we're now back to the original.
That's right.
So we do have the motion on the floor to pass our budget.
Right, as now amended.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, Carly, call the roll.
Robert Dennis.
Yes.
Lisa Ecke.
No.
Ann Harbison.
No.
Sharon Lloyd.
I think we're. I think some people. Wait a minute. I think there's people confused. Let's back up.
No, we can't do that.
Madam Judge, I'd like to change my vote to yes. Thank you.
I don't think, what's the procedure for doing that? I don't think we do that.
Oh, goodness.
I am not in favor of the budget as is because the $500 cable is tied to the $4,100 to put forth. So if it's
We're
not,
in the middle of the vote. So
Well, I'm sorry. J.P. Ecke, I don't mean to disrespect you. I need to, I believe, and it's not on my cheat sheet, I believe that you're entitled to change your vote before the full tally is counted.
thank you.
So if J.P. Ecke wishes to change before the full tally is in, she can do that.
I wish to change my vote to the positive. Thank you.
So
All right.
okay.
Now,
Now, wait a minute. We got another question. J.P. Pond.
Could we have a statement made one more time what we're actually voting on at this time before we vote?
You're voting on the budget, the health department budget, less the $4,100 as amended by J.P. Cochran's.
Can we say that amount there?
Yeah.
Judge?
I'm sorry.
Could, if we subtract the 4,100, could we say then it's 16,700? I mean, can we state it like that so that everybody kind of knows? I mean,
That's what it'll be.
that's what it'll be.
Well, yeah, but we've got a motion on the floor, and so that's what it's going to be. So go ahead.
Before Carly starts again, and you're kind of, I now count 2 yeses and 1 no. Carly, is that what you have?
Okay, so then it's me.
Okay.
Go ahead and roll call.
Lloyd? Yes.
Yes.
Eva Madison,
No.
Sue Madison, Joe Maxwell, Gary McHenry,
Yes.
Joe Patterson,
Yes.
Butch Pond,
Yes.
Bill Ussery, Daniel Balls, Harvey Bowman, Rick Cochran.
Yes.
So you do have a budget passed as of right now, not the original, but this is okay.
I understand.
And that is to take the video out of your budget.
I understand. Thank you.
Thank you, Robin. Next thing we have is our coroner, Roger Morris. You are recognized.
I'm Roger Morse, Washington County Coroner. I've been coming for y'all now for over 14 years. And most of y'all know, or some of y'all know, that I only come when I need something. Other than that, you don't see me, which is a good thing. But I've asked for some things. Like last year, we had to come back and ask for $10,000 for deputy coroner pay. I did not put it in the budget for this year because I wanted to see where we stood. I wanted to see if there was a pattern. I'm coming back in the month to ask for money again. That's why I'm asking for $24,000 for deputy coroner pay. We have an increase in unattended deaths. That's just when your county grows like this. That's just part of it. We haven't increased that line item in a while. But like I say, I did what y'all said. I let my budget run like it was, and we're going to come up short again. So this year I'm having to ask for the increase so I don't have to come ask again. Vehicles, we do well with our vehicles. We service our vehicles every 2,000 miles, and we keep them clean, etc. We've had the vehicles I'm needing to replace is a 2004 and 2006. They're our first vehicles we ever had. The 2004 is one we use for trips to Little Rock Crime Lab, etc. It's way up there, and if we have somebody in the back of our vehicle going to the lab or coming back from the lab, we don't need it turned down on the interstate. That would not be good for the county. And number two, I wouldn't want my mom on the side of the road while I'm walking. The other one is our second vehicle we received. It's a Blazer, which is, at the time, yeah, it was useful. But now it's useless. We've got cars going all over the county. Like last weekend, we run 48s. What I mean by that is 48 hours. You know, we had two pickup vehicles. Our pickup vehicles were all on the east side of the county. We had two more calls on the west side of the county. So I'm having to use embalming services or mortuary services to make those removals, which is costing money out of my budget. So we're replacing that Blazer, and we're replacing them with vans, which is more economical. They get better gas mileage, and they're cheaper. And plus, I can put two cots in there. What we've been using is Suburbans and the trucks, and the Suburbans are running this year. I think I looked on our bids. We got our state bids. I think they're way up there this year. They're about 30,000 plus. The trucks are 24, 26. And I saw some vans in there, like we're going to get a small van, and I think we found them for like 18, 19,000. And then I'm going to get a medium-sized van, which is going to run about 21,000. The thing about that is, the reason I'm getting two separate sizes, the small van will be used for naturals. The bigger van, we're going to have to put a petition in, since it's not a truck. The reason being we want a van on that end of it is because it has air conditioner units, and we can run, they've got it set up now in these vehicles where we can run hoses back there and keep it like a cooler. So when we make these trips on these 90 and 100 degree days, we're not starting decomposition on these bodies before they get to funeral homes, which, you know, is a good deal. The reason for the petition is going to Little Rock, 3-hour drives. You have a body that's been down for a week or two. It's not a good deal not to have a petition. The line items that I've raised, I've asked for $3,000 in computer. Reason for that is right now I'm running my computer, which doesn't have a fan. I'm running it for an hour at a time, shutting it off, running it for an hour at a time, shutting it off. Reason being is I don't want to touch $3,000 in my budget. I'm going to make it last at the end of the year. But I'm going to have a new computer at the end of the year. The 5,700 in small equipment, we haven't purchased any cots for 10 years. And we're running, there's not a day that goes by that we don't have at least 4 or 5 bodies in our cooler now. So we're going to replace 2 cots. We have to have the cots. If you don't believe me, any of y'all are welcome to come down there and lay on one. I wouldn't want to ride on it. There's a misprint on there. If you look at your line item on postage, I'm not asking for $3,000 postage. I'm not mailing any humanes. Other than that, I believe that's about what I'm looking at. If you have any questions, I'll be glad to fill in the answers.
Was it 300 for postage?
Yes, most definitely.
Okay, J.P. Lundstrom and then J.P. Pond.
I just wanted to comment that this is a fair increase in this budget, but this is a very critical budget to the county. And I visit with these deputies from time to time, and they have had a huge increase in deaths in the county because we have so many new people coming in. Our population keeps growing. So this budget is going to have to keep going up if we continue to grow the way we've been growing. But this is not an unreasonable increase. But this is why I was kind of wanting to keep some of these $4,100 ones, is to pay for this kind of stuff. If he needs body bags, he's got to have body bags. That's just the bottom line on it. So anyway, I'm going to support this. Thank you, Madam Chair.
J.P. Pond.
Just out of curiosity, is that larger van, is that a 1-ton van or a 3/4 tons?
Probably. I've got to look at them. I don't want something bulky.
Yeah.
I want it to look nice.
That's
and
full size.
what I need is which size is the full size? 1 ton. I've not looked at them. I don't mean to be stupid.
1 ton, a 3/4 ton, even a full size half ton might all be the same size.
Yeah.
As far as being bulky.
I just need even if it's got a small engine in it, I'm not real concerned because it's going to be making trips more than it is out in the county.
Okay.
Like I say, main reason is transport and cool, and we just got to replace that other.
Thank you.
J.P. Lloyd.
Thank you, Madam Judge. As an educator, I don't want to be nitpicky, but on the training and education line 3101,
yes.
What are you thinking that the 1,000 to the 2,000? I mean, what are your thoughts on that? Where are you going with?
Well, I've backed off on training over the years, and it's time to go back. We've got to maintain our excellence. We came a long way. We were nothing, and we're known as one of the upper coroner's office in the state. And the main reason why is education. That's like I've got to go to Little Rock in December on an insurance case. And we've had to hire more deputy coroners, and we're doing part-timers, and we're doing retired part-timers. We're doing it for a reason. I figured up a chief deputy and a full-timer. It was going to cost in excess of over $150,000. So by doing what we're doing, we're keeping that fund down lower. But to your question on that, we have to educate them. It's like when Jay and them go out there on a call, they can look at us and say, "What's your observation?" And if I send our 2 new ones out there that doesn't have a clue or ABMDI qualified, which is the American Board of Death Scene Investigators, they have no clue. They don't know what to look for. They don't know what kind of signs to look for, what to look on medications, what to look for on medical records. But I will say something, and I might be overstepping my bounds, but you all know me. I can't keep my mouth shut. probably 60 to 70% of our calls, that's like county goes county. Assessor's office, people come here. Collector, people come here. We go to Fayetteville, Springdale, Prairie Grove, county, every city in this county. And we're the only county unit that does. And we receive no funds from said cities, which I understand, we're county. But probably close to 65-70% of our calls come from Springdale, Fayetteville proper. That's just something to think about. I don't know what, sheriff's office gets something per body or per, live body.
Just one more question, and I probably should know this. How many employees are in the coroner's office?
I have now, since I've had to hire 5.
5?
6 counting my office manager. And they're all part-timers. And to tell you how much we're working, 1, 2, 3, 4, 3 or 4 is already on APRS. And I've got another one that HR called me the other day and said, watch it, because I hired the other 2 because I wanted to keep them off APRS. Because of the, we get into more money out of the county. And she called me today and said, boy, you're pushing it.
Okay.
And that's running to everybody. I'm not showing favoritism. Everybody's going out on calls.
So the majority of the increase here is the 1 more part-time and then the 2 vehicles. Is that correct?
Correct.
Am I reading that right?
Yeah.
Okay. Right. Thank you.
And like I say, vehicles is a one-time expenditure. And we keep our cars on like a 10-year plan.
J.P. Cochran.
Thank you, Judge. You mentioned small van and a large van.
Yeah.
18 to 19,000 on the small, 21 on the. That's 40,000. You're asking for 50.
Yeah. Reason for that is we've still got to outfit it. We've got to, on one, we have to call Mayo over in Springdale and somebody, we'll get bids and get the petition put in.
Right.
We'll have to have the air conditioner unit put in on the big one.
Right.
We'll have to have our radio units put in to stay in contact with county, et cetera. And the radios, you're looking at some nice money.
Yeah, they're.
And then our emergency flashers for in case we're on the interstate.
Right.
And lots of times here now, since they've trusted us and the training we're going through, a lot of times they'll ask us to expedite, especially state police.
What's your estimated trade-in value on the 2 units? About $5 a piece?
Well, probably because that's why I was going to ask. I'd like to keep that truck in the back, and I'll tell you why. I'm going to keep it clean. Why it's still running, if we have one out, which is very common here, up on the mountain, off in the holler, etc., I would rather sand an older vehicle that's 4-wheel drive, and that truck is 4-wheel drive and older, so if we happen to hit a rock or a tree limb or something to get back there to it, we're not tearing up a new car.
Yeah, so you'll only probably trade
in the Blazer.
Keep the other.
And like I say, the reason being is so we can keep our vehicles in good shape.
Right. Something special on your computer, $3,000 for the laptop?
Well, that's what IT told me to put in there.
I just bought one for $140 the other day, but
hey, I'll give you the $140.
I was going to say it wasn't a screamer by any means. It was a very light duty type of thing. I just feel like
IT told me, said you need to put $3,000. I said I need a computer. He said you need to put $3,000 in your budget.
Well, see if you can save a little on that. I don't think you probably unless you have something special that you are running special programming or anything.
No.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't care.
Thank you, Judge.
Yeah. JP, sir.
Yes, I have a couple of questions. One of them is just more of an analytical because I'm an analytical person, but what percentage increase has there been in the last couple of years? I mean, give me I'm looking for some number that I can say, okay, there's no question we all know this has occurred, but if I had something, I like something a little more tangible if that's possible.
Let's just say a few years back, I guess like when I checked, we were running probably 1,600, 1,800, and now we're running anywhere from 22 to 24.
And then one other question, that is, I noticed on fuel and lubricants that you asked for $10,000, but on this it says you've only spent $1,400, and you're asking for $10,000 again. And yet you've not spent $10,000 since 2013. And is there any room there to negotiate at all on that?
No.
You think you'll spend $10,000 next year?
We're going to be close, and I'm going to tell you why. I could probably come down to, because I did take it down to before I turned it in, but then I thought, well, why do that when I'm going to come back and ask? I left it at 10 because if this goes through, the new laws passed 2 or 3 years ago states that a body cannot be pronounced dead unless it's done by a physician, coroner, or hospice nurse of that patient. Our hospice programs are not going to nursing homes now. So we're having to go to the nursing homes we're going to start going to all of them to pronounce death.
Okay,
so which is going to be an increase in our mileage. It's going to be an increase in our gas. Because like I say, when you do roughly, again, this is off the limb, probably 65, 40, anywhere from 40 to 60%, because I don't want to say anything I'd be not correct on. Nursing home deaths. And we're going to take those on and start going. And in wintertime now, they've started calling us to go in their place. So, we're going to be burning that gas.
I guess almost the question comes full circle then, will a half person be enough? If you're looking at moving forward with that. Do you see what I'm saying?
I'm hoping so. I'm hoping 10,000 will be enough.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
If it's not, next year I'll give it back.
All right. Okay. Thank you.
Do you need to be recognized? Go ahead.
I just wanted to make mention, since Mr. Essery brought this up, the budgets that are before you, the proposed budgets, they are as of all the expenditures as of June 30th. So if you don't mind to keep that in mind, once we kind of get these going, we'll update them, further on, but kind of keep that in mind. Thank you.
Now, did I have someone over here that wanted to be recognized? I think Steve has a comment to make.
Judge, I just, J.P. Lundstrom asked me to address the court on this issue, so y'all know. J.P. Lundstrom asked me more than a year ago to research the possibility, going along with what Coroner said about possibly charging a coroner's fee to the towns based on either population or actual calls. And I concluded that we don't have the statutory authority to do that. Now, that research that I did, it's been a year ago, so, but I was left with the definite impression that we just can't do it. So I just wanted to lay that out there for y'all.
Excuse me for butting in, but yeah, that's what I was told too. I did some research on that a few years back. But I mean, I wanted to see if there's something else there.
Well, can that be brought before our legislators and get a bill carried to take care of it?
You could do a resolution and try it.
I mean, you think about it, a lot of deaths. I meant to try to have a pie chart made, because I know some of y'all like pie charts, prior to coming, but we like I say, we run 48 the last couple of weeks, so I didn't get a chance. I'm sorry.
Madam Chair.
Yes, you're recognized, J.P. Lundstrom.
I'm just always overwhelmed the way the state keeps mandating things, which now apparently forces us to go to every nursing home, which they were not previously doing, because they have to pronounce a person dead. So it's going to cost us more money. State sitting down there bragging they've got $177 million excess. And I suggested to my daughter-in-law they may not have that much if they'd pay their bills. So anyway, I'm glad you brought that up, because that is going to be a major increase in fuel and
it will be,
and time for part-timers and everybody. So thank you, Madam Chair.
J.P. Harbison.
I'm going to move that we approve the budget as presented.
Second. I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Yes, go ahead.
I was confused about if he's not asking for $3,000 in postage, if we needed to reflect. Yeah, I know, but it says $3,000.
Yeah, we all
We'll subtract it off.
I think, and I think J.P. Harbison could clarify her motion because, as presented in writing, or clarified by Quorum Morris.
I think,
With the correction, okay, I make a motion that we approve the budget with the correction of the $3,000 to $300 for postage.
I just wanted to add a note. I can give you the actual total that his proposed budget would be without the $3,000 if you need it. Well, it'd be $2,700 reduced, which is $348,460. Oh no, sorry. $345,760.
So now we've got the amendment, the postage being changed or corrected, let's say that. So we're ready for a roll call. Just pardon?
Just one motion, not amendment.
No, we had just the motion. Carly?
Robert Dennis.
Yes.
Lisa Ecke.
Yes.
Ann Harbison.
Yes.
Sharon Lloyd.
Yes.
Tom Lundstrom.
Yes.
Eva Madison.
Yes.
Sue Madison.
Yes.
Joe Maxwell. Gary McHenry. Joe Patterson. Butch Pond. Bill Ussery. Daniel Balls. Harvey Bowman. Rick Cochran.
Okay, before we move on to our next on the agenda, I'm going to call for a break for about 5 or 6 minutes for all of us to be able to get around. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. The next thing we have on the agenda is our Extension Office. Bernie Kurtz. Bernie, you're recognized.
Thank you, Judge. I'm Bernie Kurtz, Washington County Extension Agent, Staff Chair. I'm pleased and honored to lead the staff of, there's 12 of us, complete the current staff of 12. And before you, I come tonight for an increase to complete our staff to 13, which we were a couple of years ago. Historically, you all have supported the needs to the fullest. It was, I believe, in 2005 I came before the court to request, at that time, in 2004, we were 4 agents that were being supported by you all. And in 2005, I came and asked for an additional support of an agent, which increased it to the 5th. And the reason we came before you at that time was to support the growth need that we had in the county, particularly the demand that our agents were having to respond to water quality issues. So you all came to the table to support a water quality agent to take care of water quality education. And at that time, there was a 4-H agent, two family consumer science agents. I'm messing up here. The second family consumer science agent was the 4-H agent. And then we had 2 additional agriculture agents, one to handle the urban horticulture aspect and the commercial horticulture, as well as the commercial livestock and poultry producers in the county. So that's the history of where we were up until 2 years ago. We had some vacancies occur, as well as at the same time shortfalls of funding. Vacancies were not allowed to be filled. So that's when I came to you all last year to come to the table once more as a partner to support a full staff of 5 agents. And y'all came and supported the hire of the agriculture agent to take care of the commercial livestock and poultry, as well as our youth livestock program. And so now we're here to ask for the 4-H agent's position. Before you, I placed, it was not in your packet, but before you placed a document, that a 1-page document that kind of highlights some of the programs that agents in the office conduct. The 4 agents that we have currently in place, they have a huge demand. Washington County, being the size it is and the growth experience, the need for agriculture agents is pretty taxing. Washington County has the largest number of farmers, registered farmers, as a county on a per county basis in the state of Arkansas. That's tremendous. And there's 2 of us to take care of that. And it's taxing on the 2 who are doing that and me asking them to also now take care of the 4-H program. So what's happening is we have agents who have another 100% program having to work in the 4-H program because we as agents see the need to have support to the 4-H program. So we're not letting it go, but it's wearing and tearing on the others that are with us. We've put other success stories. You see the success stories of the 4-H program, as well as some of the agricultural bullet points. Having the most farms in Arkansas, all the monies that are garnered and then turned around into adding to the tax base of this county, that's the second largest income to a farming community in the state of Arkansas. The reason it's second, not first, is because we have a lot of small part-time farmers. The demand that they have to agents is as much as a large producer because they have the same questions, they have the same needs. So it's not any different. But there's a lot of small truck patch producers. You all are very familiar with the various farmers markets we have here, and that's certainly embracing and capturing those numbers there as well. The family consumer science arena, which our current family consumer science, she was our 4-H agent, but with our family consumer science agent a couple of years ago retiring and not having funds, I've asked her to take on that responsibility of the family consumer science program. So, you heard from one of the extension homemakers this evening. She's certainly a product of the 4-H program and certainly appreciated in leading the extension homemaker clubs, which is the largest number in Arkansas. The agents that you all have are producers, and it's showing consistently the numbers that they are producing when you compare it to other counties in Arkansas. The economic and community development arena, this is where we placed our master gardeners, and you've heard several of those, what they're contributing to the communities. And you've heard that they contribute widely in the community, from large Springdale, Fayetteville, to the smaller areas like Lincoln or Winslow. They have programs, projects in all those outlying areas as well. The demand on the family consumer science, I'm going to jumping back to that. Our families, young families, we're second. This is not something to be proud of. We're second only to Pulaski County for families to qualify for SNAP funds. The old words was for food stamps. Now the SNAP program, educational program that we provide, the huge demand is there that our family consumer science agency, she works in the school system, providing youth and teachers with the resource-based information on proper nutrition. What makes a nutritious plate. As you see, our agents who are out there are doing their job and doing it very well when we compare it to others. I cannot continue asking them to provide more above what they were asked when they were first hired. And that's what I'm doing right now. The last year or so, we've been asking them to do more, to contribute to the 4-H program. I really need your support to allow me to hire a 4-H agent so we can retain the agents we currently have. It's pretty stressful. You can speak to my wife. She doesn't see me as much as she used to. And you can ask the other families as well. We're going above and beyond, and we cannot continue to do that and continue to keep the agents we have. Thank you.
J.P. Eckey.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Everybody knows I love the 4-H Club, and I love the 4-Hers. But I learned something recently at a meeting that I attended, the importance and significance of the extension agents just for the 4-Hers. What happens when our exceptional sons and daughters reach the state level in competition, and what happens if they don't have an extension agent there to represent them in state competition.
And what she's getting at is there's danger of us remaining agents allowing things to fall between the cracks and not allowing some of our local 4-H members who are achievers. We could allow them to fall between the cracks. We don't have someone who's there just constantly working the 4-H program, making certain that our kids, our local kids, can be the best at what they're doing. And that's what Lisa is saying.
And also, I found out from Ms. Biswell that they were at state. They were in Little Rock, and they were competing. And the parents who, like Christy Weaver and Mike Weaver, have one of the clubs, but they're parents. And the state will not communicate information, vital information, as far as rescheduling times or where the students need to be, or the 4-Hers need to be for their particular event. If the agenda changes, they will not communicate that to the parents. They only communicate it to the extension agent. And when that happened, Ms. Biswell's club or kids that she was up there with, they didn't know where to go. They didn't know what times because they didn't have an agent there to provide that information and to communicate between the state, because the state will not communicate with the parents. And so when I heard that, it was likened to me, if for all the football people, you can't get to the Super Bowl unless you have a football coach, and that's a head coach, not a training coach, not a training conditioning or nutrition coach, or I know sometimes you might think you can on just an offensive coordinator. You need a coach, and you want to win. And our students in Washington County are winning on the state and national level. And that is what I'm so excited about the next generation, is they are winning. But they need that coach. They need that mentor. They need that educator to help them succeed and not see what happened when you have to forfeit an event because you didn't know, because you didn't have an agent. And that's what happened. Thank you.
J.P. Harbison.
This is one of the most important investments that we can make in this county. When we talk about economic development and money, because money runs things, the base in this county still is agriculture. All right? So we need to support, we need this 4-H agent. We need to support the extension office. They are doing a fabulous job, but they're overworking their people, and they cannot continue to do that. Outside of the employees of the county, the Extension Office, I feel, is the next most important organization that we help to support. This is an economic position. It creates jobs. It creates the flow of money. And that's what this whole thing is about, developing our kids so they can participate in the economy. Someone asked or made a statement, what is the most important thing that we could do that would cause or economic development in this county? And someone said pave roads. And I believe to pave roads, but I think even more important is to invest in our young people. Unless you've been in 4-H, unless you have participated in 4-H over years, you do not realize the leadership value that 4-H provides. There's many people in state government got their start in 4-H clubs. It's not so much as it was in the past because we're going to an urban environment. But even in the urban environment, 4-H still is very important in creating leadership in youth and personal development. That's what life is about, is to participate and contribute to your community. This organization teaches that. And everyone that's in this room, that's in the audience, they are helping to do this in the county. They need support from the Agricultural Extension Office. They need this 4-H agent. And, you know, it's just very important. Thank you.
Deputy Lloyd.
Thank you, Judge. Bernie, you're one of the nicest people I know, and I do appreciate everything that you do, and saying no to you would be like saying no to my brother or something. I don't know. You're just a very, very nice guy. But I do have one question I wanted to ask about. Is 65, I mean, you're asking for this agent, this additional agent, and $65,000 is the salary. Is that kind of the going salary? I mean, does it...
Appreciate you asking that question.
Okay.
That's the base for the support of 5 agents. It's not the amount that will be used to hire a new agent, the 5th person. It's the base, and the base involves more than just the person that will be hired. It's the support that comes with that. We have a tremendous amount as agents. We have a tremendous amount of support, educational support that we can call on. We can invite them to programs, be program speakers, and that's our specialists who are largely located in our state office, which is in Little Rock, and they travel up here. So it supports that as well. It supports the agents. So no, we will not be hiring someone for $65,000.
Okay. That's how much you need to do the whole program, whatever you're doing.
Correct.
All your stuff. Okay.
Whereas I did a little calculation because I thought it might be asked. Currently, y'all are supporting for 4 agents, and that's at a cost of $30,000 per agent.
Okay.
At a cost to have 5 agents, it's at $37,000 per agent. So to have an additional agent, as you go up the ladder, the cost does increase.
And what is that? Insurance?
No,
benefits?
No,
what?
It's the support. Again, the base that's there, the support that we agents have, as well as just the cost of maintenance and operation, all of the behind-the-scene costs that support those positions.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
J.B. Sue Madison.
Thank you, Madam Judge. As I recall, last year you were here seeking the court's assistance to help replace some of the funding that the Division of Agriculture failed to give you. Has the Division of Agriculture stepped up to make up for that loss from last year? Are they increasing your funding?
The funding for the past 7, 8 years, eight maybe going on 9 years from the state has been pretty level. The reason there's been a shortage, if we can say it that way, is because the cost of doing business has increased. So we're trying to do the same amount of business, but the cost is higher. So
Well, the Division of Agriculture is not stepping up and helping our extension services across the state. Yet we can raise millions of dollars to add on to a football stadium that's used minimally each year. And I think that is a serious, inappropriate use of resources when there's been a strong case made tonight over the importance of the extension service. And I'd just like to say that I can't support this increase. We just turned down a paltry $4,100 to help young mothers of modest means take better care of their children, to make sure they have immunizations, whether it's mumps or the flu. The 4-H youth that we're talking about, for the most part, have strong parental support. They can take their kids to Little Rock to compete. The mothers at the health department are lucky to take a public transit bus to get to the health department, and we turn down simple programs to help them be educated on taking better care of their children. And that, to me, is heartbreaking. I know the Extension Service does a good job. I was part of the original Master Gardener class, and I learned the value of the Extension Service then, but I think our priorities are just misplaced tonight. Thank you, Judge.
I have Ecke, Cochran, and Lundstrom. J.P. Ecke?
Judge, I wanted to make a motion to pass this budget on to the full quorum court.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Discussion.
Mr. Cochran.
J.P. Cochran.
Thank you, Judge. Question for our audience. Last year, preface this, last year, Bernie, I supported this increase to bring in additional $60,000 into your budget and let you kind of help force the issue with the state. How many of the folks in the audience have talked to their state representative or state senator to get this done? Anybody? A few. That's where you need to put the pressure. You can't keep slipping back on us. Otherwise, they'll see that we're putting it, they'll start withdrawing funds, and then we'll be footing the whole bill. I like what the program does. I don't like what the state is doing, and for that I won't support this. And I'll move to put the budget, what you requested, back to the 2016 approved level.
Second.
I've got a motion and a second on the floor. We're in the discussion.
There was an amendment.
Was that an amend?
Yes, Your Honor, that was a motion to amend.
Who passed the motion?
I made the motion.
Okay. Do you accept a friendly amendment?
No, I don't.
Okay. And so J.P. Cochran's motion was to amend to this year's approved levels, and I did hear 2 seconds, I think, at least.
There you go.
Okay. So
Okay.
that's, Judge, that's currently what's on the floor.
Okay. J.P. Lundstrom, I'm going to recognize, we're still having discussion.
Still having discussion. Well, my comment's very close to the same as Mr. Cochran's. I appear to be an opponent to the Extension Service, which I'm not. I think you do a great work too, but I think it's supposed to be funded by the state. I got in trouble here last year because I was against spending a bunch of money with the Election Commission because the state should have been paying for it. But when the state's supposed to pay for something, they should be paying for it. I've brought it up 2 or 3 times here tonight how the governor, and he's my governor, goes on television and brags about having $177 million worth of reserves down there. But he can't fund the Extension Service, which he should be doing. We've already picked up a couple of agents, and now we're looking at another one. And I'm like, Mr. Cochran, where's it going to stop? But at some point in time, you have to confront the state. And you have to say, we're not going to do it. If you want to get rid of it, then you be responsible for it. And then perhaps they will do something about it. But they're not going to do anything about it. I don't know if you guys go down there and spend a lot of time, arguing with them wanting the money because you feel like you're not going to get it to start with, right?
No, we are prohibited from being there.
You're prohibited?
As a state employee.
Oh, good grief. Well, send some of these 4-H'ers down there. They're not prohibited.
They do.
They do.
That's good.
They go.
But this is my only situation. I think, it's my understanding that the University of Arkansas and the state were primary supporters of this program. Judge and I were talking earlier, kind of giving away our age, but when we were in FFA and 4-H, it was all done in the school system, and they did a fine job with it. I won the Fat Barrel contest at the Tulsa State Fair. So that's the only reason I'm not going to support it, is because I think the state should be supported. I'm still opposing the state, not you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
JP Eva Madison.
Thank you, Judge. I wanted to understand a little bit better what you were saying about the price for 4 agents and then the price for 5 agents. Because I remember, I think it was, I don't know if it was last year or the year before, that you came to us with sort of this package that the state had put together for, do we have? I don't think I've got it. But I guess I'm trying to understand, is the price for an agent something that the state has put together that you all are then coming to us to ask for?
This is occurring in 75 counties, yes.
I guess
this was done once before in my career, where all 75 counties, the county agent approached Quorum Court to come to a plan where there's some equity. There were some counties that were supporting county extension offices almost 50% of the cost of the office, of having employees there. And then there are other counties where down in around the 10 to 15 range. So there's some inequality going on in how counties are supporting. So back in the late 1990s, discussions started to create some sort of plan so there's some equity. So everyone's doing the same thing. A plan was developed in conjunction with the Association of County Government, and it was rolled out in year 2000. In 2001, that was the first time the budget, the Quorum Courts faced an increase at that time. Some no increase, others it was an increase. And for you all here, it actually was an increase. I was not here at the time, but at that time the staff chair came and asked for a small increase to come to that level of what at that time they were calling a uniform funding. And there was no built-in cost of inflation, so it just stayed the same until the approach was made a year and a half, 2 years ago.
Well, is it not based on population, though? I mean, I don't know why we should.
It is based on how many agents you all want, and it's based on workload.
Well, why does it get more expensive if we? It seems like there's some matching of dollars going on here, and
I'm not aware of matching.
Well,
dollars.
I mean, I guess if we think, what did you say it costs for 4 agents per agent? 30, and then it goes up to 37,000 if we support 5.
The current plan, that is the way it is. Yes.
Well, you're not paying for an agent with $37,000, so somebody somewhere is matching this money.
Yes. I wasn't going to pull this out, but there's a pie chart. We like pies. Currently, you all are, for this year, you all are supporting staffing salary 25% of all the staffing that's in the office. 23% are coming from grants. 43% is coming from state.
But if we increase the funding, that's going to comparatively increase the state's funding.
Once you make the increase, I did not create a new chart. If you all support what we're asking this evening, what this chart would look like next year if you did pass this would be more of a 30-30, a third. And that's the true partnership that we're really after, a third from county government, a third from state, and third from, fortunately, we have agents on staff who are great grant writers. So it'd be possibly a third from grants, and the federal partner is there with about a 9%, 9 to 10%.
Well, I guess what strikes me is that it seems like somebody at the state level has decided that the way this is going to work is that the counties are going to contribute without really asking if the counties wanted to. This increase in percentages I'm troubled by it because you said that you wanted to ask for, that you weren't fully funded in previous legislative years. And so it seems like the solution is to push it to us. And we're facing things like, do we have to raise millage to pay for these things when the state is sitting on almost $200 million in excess money? It just doesn't make sense. We should raise taxes so the state can cut them? I mean, it just... it's not logical. And I guess we had this conversation a couple years ago. I'm troubled at the fact that the state program, their solution is to make the counties pay and sort of do this, like, well, we'll give you this if you give us this. And I'm still really troubled by it. Okay, thank you for clarifying.
J.P. Pond?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. I listened closely to the opinion of my fellow members of the court, and the place where we agree, with the other members who have spoken, is the state should come forward, and it's wrong for them not to, with the money for this much needed program. Now, you have to understand, if any of you have been to any of these 4-H programs and seen not only the skills of working skills that these young people learn, the public speaking capabilities that they're taught, and parliamentary procedure, that sort of thing. I'm not just saying this because it sounds good. These young people are going to become the leaders of Washington County. They're going to be our representatives. They're going to go to Little Rock. They're going to be state representatives. You might not imagine how many state representatives we have at this time that learned many of their skills from some program that the Extension Office provides. Now where I'm going with this, sometimes we have to take the leadership role. And in this case here, if we just say, well, we agree that the state should do this, but they're not going to, so we're not going to, we are following the lead of the state, who is doing the wrong thing, as far as I'm concerned. Sometimes we have to stand up and do what's hard. We might have to stand up. This JP here is seeing that a few years back, possibly because we're not doing anything about it now, I made a mistake by voting for a 0.5 cent cut in the millage, not knowing that I couldn't trust fellow Quorum Court members to put it back if it became it created some kind of a hardship. Now, what I'm saying is, if the state is wrong not to support this program, how is it right for us to take and follow their lead? I will be not supporting this amendment. I'll be voting no on this amendment. I'm holding out for us to take the leadership role and help these people who are helping our future leaders. And we'll be voting. I'll be in favor of providing the full amount they've requested. Thank you.
I have J.P. Maxwell, J.P. Harbison, and J.P. Ecke. J.P. Maxwell.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Can you help me, and maybe I should have this number already, but can you tell me how much that the county contributes between grounds and maintenance and current salaries annually?
The grounds and maintenance is not in my budget I don't know what it is.
Okay.
It's not in my budget.
We fund the building, both the real estate and the maintenance, right?
The buildings are maintained by is under the judge's budget. The landscaping is maintained by volunteers, by our master gardeners.
As far as the utilities, et cetera.
The utilities is all paid by the county.
And we have about $159,000 right now that we currently fund.
157.
Okay. For
salaries. Correct.
Can you tell me, how do we compare to obviously comparable counties? I know that agriculture is not consistent county to county. Can you tell me percentage-wise and dollar-wise, how do we compare with other comparable agricultural counties with the county's contribution?
Well, the number one agriculture producing county is just north of us. It's Benton County. So if you compare us to them, the Quorum Court currently is supporting that county office with 5 agents, 2 of which are 4-H agents.
You know how much money they're supporting them?
They're asking the same.
Okay.
They're no different.
And do you know if they support their building and communications,
that is part of the original agreement, is that, yes, they are supporting that as well.
So if they're number one, what number are we?
Number 2.
Number 2. And who would be number 3?
It's actually Carroll County.
Okay. And do you, I apologize for giving you a quiz off the cuff here. But
because of population, they have 1 full-time agriculture agent and 1 full-time family consumer science agent.
Percentage-wise, how does their county contribute to the extension there?
I'm looking at the plan because the base program is charged for those 2 agents $30,000.
Okay. I guess I have a little bit of confusion on and I think at this point I'm in support of the amendment because I don't want to leave things in the lurch. And I know last year we stepped up and added to what we were doing to try to help in the gap. But the question that keeps coming to mind is when you were here last year asking for an increase because of the lapse of the state, whoever party that let that go, one of the things that you told us is that you would, the extra money that we were giving you would give you a reprieve so that you could go back to the state and try to get those monies that at that point you mentioned should have been coming from them. We were making up the gap, although not all of it. That would give you time to go to them and petition to get that money replaced.
Yeah, I do recall that discussion that you had with it was in the court here. There is no, as far as us as county agents being able to maneuver what you're asking, that's not something that we do. Yet I have asked administrators, yes, they will be asking through the legislative process some increases. I don't know what that is. That's for our administrators to make the ask. We did investigate several other opportunities for some matching funds out there, and nothing has come through.
I guess 2 things. One is it sounds like instead of getting that funds replaced from the state where it rightfully was to start with, that hasn't been successful. And then there also, if I'm understanding you right, and I may misunderstand you, so please help me, but it sounds like we're now trying to shift the 25, 23, 43% divvy into a 33, 33, and a 33 in the future.
That's going to be what this county will look like. We do have fortunate opportunities for grants. Not all counties do. This is one of the largest counties that are producing grants. We have several other employees that are on 100% grants. Other counties will, if you do that pie chart, they'll be in that 20 range because they don't have the grants that we are fortunate to attain.
But we are looking to shift it a little more heavily to the county and a little lighter percentage-wise from the state.
And I do not see that changing.
Okay. Well, I certainly don't want to see us go backwards, and I know that we granted additional monies last year. Again, not everything you requested, but more than what you had to begin with. I don't mind to support you getting that additional money again this year, because I haven't heard anybody say they're not behind what you do, and I think all of us acknowledge that the product from those kids, what that benefits the county, benefits those people. I think this is a very wholesome, productive program, and I don't think there's any contest there. At least I haven't heard any. And I agree with that. I do share the concern that I left here with the impression that there was going to be a pretty concerted effort to make up those funds from the state. That's what I may be wrong, but that's what I perceived from you, that there was a commitment that this would give you breathing room of a year to try to get that done. So I do have some questions around that, but I don't mind to do it again this year and hope that we can come to...
This is a legislative session where new monies can be found.
Mm-hmm.
This past January, February was not a session where new monies could be found.
So I think maybe there is some opportunity this year, if you have some breathing room once again to do that. Hopefully we can be successful in that. So I will definitely support the amendment so that you can have the additional funds over what it was before last year.
J.B. Maxwell, if I could address I do not see the state administration of Extension backing up from this ask of support. Every verbiage I receive from Extension administration, that this is not going to change. Even though that the state may kick in additional funds on the state side, because of the level of funding for 8+ years, the cost of business again rising, there's a huge shortfall on that state side. So whatever increases are going to be garnered will shore up some of those areas where they have been without as well. They are on some of our state programs that have statewide implications. They have been without. And I foresee that's where the new state monies will be first focused on, because the ask has been made to counties. I just do not, everything that's being said, the state's not going to back up.
Last question. What were the monies that you're referring to you felt like would be available this year? You just mentioned that you felt like this year there might be some revenue available because it was a revenue year. So I'm just kind of curious what funds that you see as an option.
Certainly on a revenue year, where various state agencies have an opportunity to ask for additional funds, or the appropriations can be made. I suspect our state administrators are making an ask above the 2 years ago. Now, I'm not privy to what that is. That's above my responsibilities.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Chair.
J.B. Harbison.
I just want to reemphasize what J.P. Pond said, that the state's not going to fund it. We might as well, take what we can get and lobby for what we can get. But, is agriculture in this county important to the county? We are the county government, and we need to step up and fund the Extension Office, because it is very important economically that the Extension Office be funded. And the state wants to cut $177 million. The new legislature, that's all they've done is go down there and cut funds. This court did the same thing. Now we are hurting. We've got to make the decision. Are we going to support our county, or we're going to say, well, the state hasn't done their part, so we're not going to do our part? Now, that's the bottom line. Everybody on this horseshoe knows that the states may come up with a little bit of funding, and I'll have to agree with J.P. Sue Madison, when they spend millions of dollars over here on the athletics, and we have to take the crumbs over here to support our youth in this county. But that's the way it is. We don't have big donors. And, you know, those are big donors. That's really not taxpayers' money that's doing that. So I'm just encouraging, and I hope people on this court will step up and support the Extension Office because it's important. Thank you.
J.P. Ecke.
Thank you, Madam Chair. It almost sounds like a scenario I used to play with my parents. Mom, can I go? Go ask your father. Dad, can I go? Go ask your mother. And y'all are getting bounced around like a ping pong ball between the state and the county. And neither one of them would make a decision whether or not I could go to basketball practice. So I made the decision, said, I'm going. And each one of them thought the other one gave the other one permission. I wish that could be so easy for you to do. But I know my daddy's in heaven, so it doesn't matter now. Anyway, I would like to appeal to our JPs in this respect. These young, bright, intelligent, gifted, talented sons and daughters of Washington County are our future. And the message that we're communicating to them is, we don't care. We don't care. Go ask the state. I don't care. I know what it's like to be a poor mother. I know what it's like to have to carry your car seat. But I also know that I did what I had to do, and I didn't depend on the government or the city or anybody to help me. I think it's admirable that one of our JPs, Ms. Madison, does help them, and she helps her to. I think that's admirable. But let's remember something, that these people are bringing in revenue. They're not just taking away from our budget. They're paying the taxes in this county. They're the ones that are going out and purchasing goods and services and paying that sales tax that contributes to our general fund. So they are adding to the taxes. What they're asking for is for us to support them with the services that the county should with their taxes, because that's what taxes are all about, is providing the county with services. And I know that the stronger the economy is, the better we will be to help fund single mothers that are below poverty, and we're helping them as best we can. But this is our future. These are our future voters and taxpayers, and their parents will remember it at the polls. And if we cannot say, you are our 401k, you are our future, and you're worth the investment, my goodness, did we not receive an email from Katie Gartner who said, this is who I am, and this is what the 4-H program has done, and are we not reaping the investment that was made in her life? I think we are, and I'm proud of that. And so I think that we should just support this regardless of what the state does. We have the money. Do we have the will? And I know people will remember this at the polls when they go to vote. They really will. Because without people to vote, the Election Commission doesn't have the equipment. I mean, what good is the equipment if they don't have people to show up to vote? And I'm saying that if we can give the Election Commission all the money that we gave them on these new voting machines, we certainly can fund the future of Washington County with $65,000 and what they're asking for. Thank you, Madam Judge. So I'm asking that we pass this on to the full quorum court as requested. Thank you.
Okay, now we have a motion on the floor for an amendment.
Judge, I would just to
please explain it.
As I understand, what the court's about to vote on is J.P. Cochran's amendment, and again I'm paraphrasing, but to fund the Extension Office request at 2016's budgeted level. Is that? And it was seconded by one of the Justices, Madison.
Okay.
either Justice Lundstrom or Justice Sue Madison. I apologize.
Okay, so we're going to go ahead and do a roll call on this if our discussion has ended. Carly?
Robert Dennis.
No.
Lisa Ecke.
No.
Ann Harbison. No. Sharon Lloyd.
Yes.
Tom Lundstrom.
Yes.
Eva Madison.
Yes.
Sue Madison.
Yes.
Joe Maxwell.
Yes.
Gary McHenry.
No.
Joe Patterson.
Yes.
Butch Pond.
No.
Bill Ussery.
No.
Daniel Balls.
No.
Harvey Bowman. Rick Cochran.
Yes.
Lost.
I count 7 and 7. The amendment fails.
So now we're going to go back and vote on the budget as is. I mean, okay. J.P. Pond?
I'd like to just say a little bit more about the extension office. And for people here that benefit from the extension office and people here that are part of it, I don't really believe we have people here who have a negative attitude toward the extension office and what it does. We might have some different idea about leadership issues or something like that, but I would just like to remind these, folks one more time on this horseshoe. The extension office doesn't just feed children. They teach children how to feed themselves and the people around them in the community. We need to keep that in mind. We need to remember that. Thank you.
Okay, now we have a motion on the floor to pass the budget as it has been presented. Do we have a
There
motion?
was a second.
And a second.
I don't remember who.
Any,
Point of clarification.
yes.
I know the original motion was to pass this on to the full quorum court. Since this is a special meeting of the full quorum court, are we passing it on to a second meeting or a second reading, or is it, if it passes in this session, is it passed?
No, nothing you do here tonight, J.P. Maxwell, is final until you pass a budget ordinance sometime in November or December. Maybe October. No, you can't do it until you pass the millage.
Yeah.
Will this individual process come up again at the next full quorum court or the next regularly scheduled quorum court meeting?
No, although by your own rules you can
Discuss.
You can bring it up again depending on what you do with it tonight. You can bring it up again no matter what you do with it tonight before the ordinance is passed.
So are we ready for a roll call on this? Carly, call the roll, please.
Robert Dennis.
Yes.
Lisa Ecke.
Yes.
Ann Harbison.
Yes.
Sharon Lloyd.
Yes.
Tom Lundstrom.
No.
Eva Madison.
No.
Sue Madison.
No.
Joe Maxwell. Gary McHenry. Joe Patterson.
No.
Butch Pond.
Yes.
Bill Ussery.
Yes.
Daniel Balls.
Yes.
Harvey Bowman. Rick Cochran.
No.
I count 8 and 6.
Take 7.
No, it takes 8. We have 14.
Wait, what we voting on, the 100 and, the other one? No.
No, you're voting on the original. Yeah.
Well, we changed votes once
Yeah,
tonight.
you can change your vote.
Change your vote.
It's been counted.
I moved to expunge and revote because we allowed Miss Ecke to change her vote once.
Second.
Sorry. Okay, can we have order, please? These comments from the audience are a little. I'll move to expunge the vote and revote. We can do that. And I think that any member would want that happen if they got confused. Shouldn't.
Sorry, I apologize for that.
Rule on this.
Judge, that's Justice Madison's right. That's not the only way to. It's not the only way to skin this cat, but she's correct. You can expunge the vote. If it's J.P. Lloyd who wanted her vote changed, she could move for a point of personal privilege now and have a second J.P. second it, and y'all can vote on that as well. But J.P.'s either way is correct.
I would like to move that I have my vote expunged and revoted.
Well,
I'll withdraw my motion then so that she can proceed with hers.
So now we have
Yes.
You've expunged your vote.
I
J.P. Lloyd.
apologize. I thought we were voting for because of the other time we voted.
And J.P. Cochran seconded it. Is this correct? Is there any discussion on this?
Judge, may I?
Hang on just a minute.
So I can clarify. All you were doing is allowing Justice Lloyd in this vote, it would be majority, and it's a simple majority, to change her aye to a nay or whatever she chooses, and have it recorded that way.
So then we just do.
You won't have to take a full vote, in other words, on the main motion again. Am I making sense? You would just simply allow J.P. Lloyd to change her vote.
Okay.
So a yes would allow me to change it.
An affirmative vote on this motion allows you to change your vote.
Do we need?
You can take it by voice vote. You can take it by show of hands, however you want, Judge.
No, I'm going to do a voice vote. Carly, call the roll.
Robert Dennis.
Yes.
Lisa Ecke. Yes. Ann Harbison. Yes. Sharon Lloyd.
Yes.
Tom Lundstrom.
Yes.
Eva Madison.
Yes.
Sue Madison.
Yes.
Joe Maxwell.
Yes.
Gary McHenry.
Yes.
Joe Patterson. Butch Pond.
Yes.
Bill Ussery.
Yes.
Daniel Balls.
Yes.
Harvey Bowman. Rick Cochran.
Yes.
Okay, now,
Now-
J.P. Lloyd's vote has been expunged to go.
Well, now you go back and have her announce her vote on the main motion again.
No.
Okay, so the way I count that on the main motion is the ag extension, or the extension office budget is 7 and 7, and it failed.
So he has no budget.
That's correct. Well, right now, that's
He has no
correct.
budget now. So is that
A point of information, I guess, because it was 7 to 7, so it was essentially a tie. I'm trying to figure out who could move to reconsider at the reduced level so that we could pass them a budget, but I don't know who's in the right side to do that.
person that voted against it?
To do it, you could do it tonight by anybody who voted against J.P. Cochran's amendment. Could move it back now, or you can do it by just scheduling it at putting it on the agenda, putting his budget on an agenda on another night.
We'd like for him to leave tonight with it.
Yeah, I don't want to make him have to come back, so I don't know if there's someone who voted against the amendment that's willing to reconsider.
I will move to make that motion.
No, you voted for the amendment.
Oh, yeah, for the amendment. I voted
Second.
Yeah.
Reconsidering the amended form. That's what I thought I was voting for.
Okay, Steve. make
Now that's
sure
no. I understand it. I just want to make sure.
Everyone knows.
Essentially, you were bringing back. You were voting to reconsider, and this will require 2 votes. You were voting to reconsider essentially what Justice Cochran brought up, which is funding at the 2016 level. If you agree to reconsider that vote, then you're going to have to vote on that as the extension budget.
But
Does that make sense?
That still leaves them
No, it
short.
doesn't make sense. Please say
No,
it.
it doesn't.
Okay.
All right.
It still leaves
Part
short.
1 of a 2-part vote.
Okay.
Part 1 is the motion that's before you now is a motion to reconsider J.P. Cochran's amendment that failed 7 to 7. If that passes, then you will vote on that as a budget, as the extension budget.
With a reduced rate.
Yes.
Without the, Okay. Go ahead and do roll call, Carly.
And so
Go ahead.
if it fails, then we would do what?
If the motion to reconsider fails, you're stuck with the vote that you have tonight, which he leaves without a budget tonight. You have to figure out a way to bring him back at some point.
Carly, call the roll, please.
Robert Dennis.
Reluctantly, yes.
Lisa Ecke. No. Ann Harbison. No. Sharon Lloyd.
Yes.
Tom Lundstrom.
Yes.
Eva Madison.
Yes.
Sue Madison.
Yes.
Joe Maxwell.
Yes.
Gary McHenry.
Yes.
Joe Patterson. Butch Pond.
Yes.
Bill Ussery. Daniel Balls.
Yes.
Harvey Bowman, Rick Cochran.
Yes.
And you're now reconsidering. You don't have to move it again, but you voted to reconsider. Now you are voting on the budget as amended by Justice Cochran, which is to fund at 2016 levels.
Okay, Carly, call the roll.
Oh, okay. Robert Dennis.
No.
Lisa Ecke. No. Ann Harbison. No. Sharon Lloyd.
Yes.
Tom Lundstrom.
Yes.
Eva Madison.
Yes.
Sue Madison.
Yes.
Joe Maxwell.
Yes.
Gary McHenry.
Yes.
Joe Patterson.
Yes.
Butch Pond.
No.
Bill Ussery.
No.
Daniel Balls.
No.
Harvey Bowman. Rick Cochran.
Yes.
8 to 5. Yes. I have a count of 8 to 5 in the budget as amended.
Probably should be
8 to 6. I'm losing my limited
So
arithmetic
8 to
skills.
6, that passes.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bernie. The next thing we have before the court is the collector's automation. David?
Missed a tick.
I've asked Angela
Pull another chair up there.
to be part of this because
Okay.
it's going to be her budget really more than mine.
Yeah, pull that chair over there, David. And we're going to discuss the error on the final settlement. Is this
Yes,
correct?
that's the first
Okay.
thing on my
Okay.
list here.
Thank you, David.
I hate to bring you this bad news at this particular time, but as many of you may or may not know, we do a final settlement at the end of the year. And our office, the assessor's office, the treasurer's office, works off of commissions. And these commissions are all thrown into county general, which is a mess. And that's the reason this error didn't show up for a while, because it was all thrown in there. School money, city money, all this, all different schools, all go into county general. And then we do a final settlement in December and distribute these funds. And so there was an omission in the final settlement that resulted in a $212,126 error. And I'm requesting that I've asked the judge for a court order for $212,126 from county general to the collector's automation due to this omission in the 2015 final settlement. This money has got to be distributed, and the auditor that discovered this suggested that we put it in the automation so that we can distribute it out in the next final settlement. If we do it right now, we have to write a jillion checks. It's not a clear-cut paper trail. So it's better to put it in the automation, and then we can settle on that. The error was discovered by the state auditor the last couple of weeks, and then this week I got to talk with Kim Motherwell, who's in charge of this area with the state auditor, and it was suggested that we do this court order at this time, and it's gonna change the balance of the county general. And like I say, I wished it wasn't thrown in there, but it was, and I wish that there was a different account that they would put all this money in, and then they would have noticed it. You know, we didn't notice it. And I did some research on the reason for this error. 2 years ago, the 2014 final settlement, the auditors are always changing things, and they're making it, more secure. And in doing so, my bookkeeper, who does the final settlement, removed a formula. And then when she did the final settlement, that formula was not in there, and it did not pop up, and so there was an omission of this amount. And so it's an error. There's no money missing. All money is counted for. It's just that it's not been distributed correctly, and so I'm not asking for your permission. I'm just telling you I'm late getting the final settlement out by a year on this amount here, and I apologize. The bookkeeper no longer works for me, but that's not the reason she no longer works for me. So, is there any questions?
J.P. Cochran.
Yes, thank you, Judge. Well, I understand mistakes happen. Last year we had the Act 663 money that was failed to be remitted to the state, over several years. It's good that we find these things. It's good to know that there's no intent or fraud going on. It's just a mistake. I hate being hit in my unappropriated reserves like this, but it is. The question, Judge, do we need an ordinance to move this money? Would that be in order?
We'll let the attorney answer that.
I asked the same question, J.P. Cochran, in a meeting with the treasurer and with Ms. Farber, and they concluded it's an accounting classification rather than an appropriation.
Okay.
So I think, and it's because it's an accounting classification rather than an appropriation, the answer is no. And apparently the state auditor's satisfied with that. But I certainly understand the question because I had it as well.
Yeah. Well, I would have made the motion to move this money, but if it's not necessary, then I will withhold that.
And I think one of the other things that it would behoove you to know is that in speaking with Bobby and Ashley, Bobby is convinced that in terms of your money, this is going to be a wash. It's
yes, it would. You're
because
right.
of it's essentially going to come back in the 2017 money. But
it turns back as a turn
exactly.
Back. That's correct. So it doesn't hit me in my unappropriated reserves as much as I thought. All right. Thank you, Judge. Appreciate it. Thank you. Attorney Sagan.
So now, we don't need a motion. We don't need a vote. I think more than anything, David, and we all just wanted to make you aware of this so we didn't have anyone that seems to think there was anything being hid or sneaking around. So I appreciate you coming forward, David. Thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
So now, I guess we've got his budget now. Is this correct? So just
I might preface this a little bit more.
I'm sorry.
Bobby was the first one last year to move as much money as he could into the automation fund, and we followed suit. We're able to move everything in there but salaries. We do not have enough automation, which is we work off of commissions, and the automation fund is 10% of the 4%. We get 4%. Our office gets 4%, and now that we can move as much as 10% of that in automation, which is not enough for our whole budget. It'd be nice if we had the whole budget. What that does is that lets us take last year's money and let us operate off of it. What has always gone on before is the county general funds our office until we start bringing in these commissions. We don't start bringing in commissions until April, and so the county funds our office and everything we need. So it puts a strain on county general. So we moved as much as we could out of there, and we joined the two budgets together, and then that's where working with Angela. If you want to, you can direct your questions to Angela or me or whatever. This is Angela Wood. She's going to be your new collector, and she can't wait to get there.
Angela, welcome to the real world.
Thank you.
Now, see, this won't change this. That's all in the policy. This won't, hang on just a second. This won't change. Okay. Yes, J.P. Madison.
So just to clarify, the budget that we have in front of us that looks like it increased substantially is not a substantial increase. It's simply a move.
It's
Okay.
a move, and there is some increases.
Well, but it's your money. It's not general fund revenue, so it's not like
Right,
we could
right.
spend it on the extension service if we wanted to.
Well, I mean, technically, yeah.
Okay.
And I appreciate you
Okay, because that's
understanding this
because
budget.
without at first glance I was like, holy cow.
Yeah, that's right.
And then I thought maybe it was the money that you just talked about, and then Ms. Beeks clarified that was different. So, okay, so then I would move to pass the collector's automation fund budget.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Is that the one on 55114?
Yes. And that's not general money. That's the collector's money. That's, I always say it wrong, but it doesn't really cost the county anything. They collect their money and then they're with the schools and all. So, did I get you good and confused?
No, good. I can be confused.
Me too. Okay, do we have any discussion? All in favor of passing the collector's automation budget as is, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Thank you guys very much. Thank you, David. Thank
Okay, I
you,
want to
James.
throw out one number I'm real proud of. We did a little research that this is my final year and my final budget. And since I've been here, I have collected just short of $2 billion
Wow.
for the county. And
Why are you short?
I'd have to work another year to get to the $2 billion. But I'm just, I was hoping to hit $2 billion,
Well, I was
because
pushing
that's
for
an
you.
unheard of number for a little country boy like me.
And we appreciate you. Thank you very much. Thank you, Angela. Next thing we have is our Circuit Clerks Commission. Mr. Sylvester, you've been very patient. You're recognized.
Thank you. I'm pretty fortunate for the last 3 years to be able to cut both my general and my recorder's cost budgets, finding ways to streamline and cut some costs and things like that. Last year in the commissioner's fee, the Circuit Clerk Commissioner's Fee Fund, which was new, it started in 2013 when they changed the legislation as to where a small percentage of the foreclosure sales goes into a fund to be used specifically by the Circuit Clerk's office to offset administrative costs and operational costs. Last year, I did not utilize any of that money, so I didn't budget it into any line items because I didn't foresee anything that was going to possibly come up. Currently, there's about $35,035 in the Commissioner Fee Fund. I'm requesting to be able to budget $25,000 into a other professional services line item inside that budget. We've got a couple of things that could possibly happen next year. One of them is to be able to e-file, and I don't know what that would cost because that's where the state comes in and they do a study, evaluate what it's going to cost to have your office to be able to electronically file court cases. And the reason I wanted to budget in this line item is to have monies there to utilize so that I don't have to use any monies out of the general budget or the recorder's cost budget.
Let me ask you a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Does any of the other counties do the e-filing yet?
Oh, yeah.
Yes. Faulkner County just went back in July. Crawford County went live, I believe, last month.
Pulaski's
And then in November, Benton County is going live with their e-filing.
Okay.
We just got a letter. We had put in, Judge Zimmerman, who is the administrative judge, put in a letter of request to the Administrative Office of the Courts to put us on the list to be able to e-file.
Okay.
And I heard back from the AOC about 2 weeks ago. We haven't got the letter yet, but it was kind of a preliminary statement saying that their commission meets in August and also in February. So the commission met in August and said, at this time, we are not going to schedule or start any new e-filing projects for the year, for the rest of the year, for 2016. They'll reconvene in February to see what 2017 looks like. And that's the reason I wanted to look at it and go ahead and put some money into this line item, so that if we are selected in 2017, that we'll have those funds available to use instead of pulling monies from either the general budget or the recorder's cost budget.
Do you feel pretty good about February being selected?
Yeah, I kind of do. I mean, we're and I don't want to sound egotistical or anything, but I mean, we are a Class 7 county, and we carry a lot of volume that comes through our office, even more so than Benton County. I just know they got their letter in before us. So you've got Pulaski County, you've got Benton County, you've got us, who are third as far as case volume. So I would see it advantageous to the state to have the largest counties already in that e-filing system, so that the smaller counties can be focused on. They can utilize the projects that they have, learn from those projects because they're all pretty new, and see ways that they can streamline and make those projects run smoother. And if they do it on a larger scale in the larger counties, then the smaller counties might be that much easier.
Good, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
J.P. Cochran.
Thank you, Judge. I would move to pass the Circuit Clerk Commissioner fee budget.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Carly, call the roll. I'm so used to saying public.
Robert Dennis.
Yes.
Lisa Ecke.
Yes.
Ann Harbison.
Yes.
Sharon Lloyd.
Yes.
Tom Lundstrom.
Yes.
Eva Madison.
Yes.
Sue Madison. Joe Maxwell. Gary McHenry. Joe Patterson. Butch Pond. Bill Ussery. Daniel Balls. Harvey Bowman. Rick Cochran.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kyle. Employees insurance. That's going to be in your blue book, 104. Ashley?
Before you is the proposed budget for the employees' insurance that Nelson provided. And there is an increase. And then, yeah, that's it.
She really kind of got this dumped on her, but she's willing. Yes, J.P. Cochran.
Thank you, Judge. I spoke with Nelson about what he was working on the budget before I saw the numbers, but he explained to me a lot of things, and I won't go into the details, but I feel confident that what he is requesting is right with regard to the other change that we've done with our insurance program. So I move to pass the employee insurance budget.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? J.P. Lundstrom?
I assume that this budget is in compliance with the proposal that was made that we increase the county share to $466 per
Yes, it
employee.
is.
Okay, thank you.
Carly, would you call the roll?
Robert Dennis.
Yes.
Lisa Ecke. Ann Harbison. Sharon Lloyd.
No.
Tom Lundstrom.
No.
Eva Madison.
No.
Sue Madison. Joe Maxwell. Gary McHenry. Joe Patterson. Butch Pond. Bill Ussery. Daniel Balls. Harvey Bowman. Rick Cochran.
Karen, what was the vote on that? Steve's not here, so. Okay, very good. Thank you. J.B. Cochran?
Yes. I just want to make a comment on this. This budget does not include the difference in the amount that we had been and will be doing that. That is included in the line items through all the various operating departments with their salaries. So that's where that $800,000 money is spread. It's spread all amongst all the department budgets. That's why you don't see a very big increase here. Nelson has just basically projected the various line items best he can forecast to know what we're going to be out of pocket over and above. Thank you, Judge.
Thank you, J.B. Cochran. The next thing we have on the agenda.
Can I just say
Sure,
one
go
thing?
right ahead.
You can find that difference from what you've seen previously with the presentation to now in your budgets in the county matching, which is line item 1006. Or 1008, sorry.
Okay. Yes, J.P. Madison.
I would like to politely move that we put this on the next agenda and put it higher up, because at 8:15 at night, I don't think it's very productive for us to start talking about something as important as the millage. I also think that it would be good to discuss that along with what Bobby Hill has asked us to talk about with that distribution of the sales tax, because I don't think you really can discuss one without the other. So I move to put this on the, I think it's October 11th.
Yes, that's a budget hearing
Agenda.
on the 11th.
Yeah. And have it higher up.
I'll second that.
Okay, thank you. Sorry, I know
You don't have
it's
any
been
problem
pushed.
with that as a sponsor? Okay.
No,
I have a
that's-
motion and a second. I'm sorry?
We got to vote on this.
We got to vote on this other deal. Okay. All in favor of moving this to the next budget hearing, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Okay, now. I have a motion and a second. Wait a minute. All in favor of adjourning, say aye. Opposed, same sign. We forgot to do it yet.